What is up, my Sicaros? Welcome to my new guide. I hope you guys are doing well, and today we are going to talk about Sorc. As far as I know, one of the most hated class in BDO, the iFrame spammer. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So guys, the first tip to actually win against Sorc is taking out of your mind that she is immortal and you can never win. Because that is one of the biggest problems against Sorc. Most of the people actually tilt while fighting Sorcs, that's why they make so many mistakes. I do understand that sometimes it's boring, but the matchup against Sorc is like a mind game. You need to actually play carefully and outplay your opponent. Okay, so now that you understand it, let's start for talking about the iframes and how the shards work. Nightcrow is the skill they use to actually iframe. Do they spam it? Well, they can, but they waste too much stamina. So usually they use other skills to actually have a proper management of their stamina. And the ultimate Nightcrow make them be able to actually cancel some skills with the iframe. Okay, so now I want you to understand how the shards works. They are extremely important and that's what makes Sorc really strong. So they can have until 40 fragments, and every 10 fragments it's one shard. It automatically creates a few fragments by time, but what you should know is that they can create fragments per hit. And yes, if they are consistently hitting you and they can regen shards enough, they can be always iframing. Every iframe consumes one shard, that is 10 fragments. They also have another important skill that actually regens shards. It's Dark Trade. It is really fast, and in succession it's actually super armor. Usually they use it like a panic button when they are out of stamina, and they can use it in between the dashes. Here is an example of me kiting some people on RBF. Notice that I use other skills to actually keep my stamina up, and at the end I even use unprotected skills to keep my fragments up to be able to iframe. Now let's try to understand how does Sorc self-buff and why does she deal so much damage sometimes. They can use one skill that is Shards of Darkness, and depending of the amount of shards they have, it gives a certain amount of AP, knowing that the max they can reach is 20 AP. This skill is on both weapons, Awakening and Succession. However, Succession has a new mechanic. So, for example, every time Sorc Succession use Rushing Crow or Midnight Stinger, if they have one shard, it automatically consumes the shard, buffs the skill with more damage, more range, and it self-buffs with AP. Rather than that, it's similar to Awakening. Midnight Stinger gives 40% crit, even if they don't hit you. Scattering Kick gives them magical accuracy, 6%. The normal hit to the side gives them 15% evasion. The often hit to the side gives them 30% crit, however it doesn't stack with Midnight Stinger. The addons on Sorc are really good, and combining their addons with their self-buffs is extremely OP. So let's start for Absolute Darkness. This skill is ranged, it decreases your DP, and the addons gives them accuracy and 30% crit, which means combined with their Midnight Stinger, it's 70% crit. 70%. Do you wanna know the difference it does? As you could see, the damage is insane. If she gets the add-on, she will use Midnight Stinger and try to poke you, so be careful. Rather than that, I think the most dangerous add-on is probably the Blood Calamity 6% stun, but not all the Sorcs use it, so. By the way guys, if you see a Sorc casting her Succession buff, be really careful, because the damage she can deal with it, and how fast she can attack, she will probably melt you in a few seconds, even in super armor. Let's talk about their frontal guards. The first that I want to talk about is Prime Crow Flare. This skill in Succession Sorc is extremely important. They have it every 2 seconds and they can lingering frontal guard. Also, they regen stamina while they are doing it and they can bypass fast for Blood Calamity. Prime Dark Flame is a frontal guard every 6 seconds, but it has a flow, Ultimate Dark Flame that is also frontal guard and it knocks down. And it also lets them regen stamina out of it. Prime Violation, it's a lingering frontal guard, it decreases your DP, however they can't regen stamina out of it. Blood Calamity in Succession is really important because it's super armor, it does decent damage, it regens HP, it decreases your accuracy for 12%, and they have a few ways they can use it differently. They can just cancel with the dash and do it fast. They can just hold the second part of Blood Calamity, however it consumes stamina, but it's also super armor. Or they can even use the Blood Calamity in the quick bar and they do the first part really slow, and with that they can bait you because the animation is fully super armor since the beginning. Dark Trade, we already saw it, in Succession it's super armor and it regens 3 shards. Prime Rushing Crow, super armor while moving, 4 seconds cooldown. They can regen stamina out of it, but it consumes 1 shard if they have it for the buffs. They can also cancel the end of the animation with Violation, and they can also bypass fast for Blood Calamity or Dark Flame. Storming Crow, this skill is really important to you to know. This is the flow of Night Crow, so the iframe. However, Storming Crow it's super armor, it CCs you, it slows you 30% for 10 seconds, and the best part is, it doesn't have cooldown. The only restriction that this skill has is that it consumes stamina, and you can just do it after Night Crow, the iframe. And yep, I know guys, I will agree with you, this skill is OP. As you might already know, there is a few skills that you need to be careful of. Dream of Doom is one of them. This skill is unprotected, but if it charges at max, it will knock down you, and he has a flow, Imminent Bloom, that in succession the cooldown is lower, and it permits to instantly launch Dream of Doom without casting. However, it will just stiff. Signs of Agony is a slowly projectile that goes just forward, and it stuns if he hits you. Ultimate Shadow Eruption, it's a really dangerous ranged skill. They can do it after Prime Crow Flare, Succession only, or they can do it after Shadow Eruption, that they also have in Awakening. Prime Abyssal Flame is a really dangerous skill right now. It has long range, if they cast it, it's knockdown, cancelling the cast is just stiff, however the damage of it and the spam they can do, it's insane. Sorc Rabams are pretty strong. The ones they usually use is Shadow Ignition and Protected CC, but they can cancel in between dashes. And the other Rabam, Engulfing Shadow, super armor movement skill. And now you're asking yourself, how can Sorc be so strong if most of the skills are unprotected? Well, that's because she can cancel most of the skills with the iframe, so she don't really need to actually be worried with her protection, and the vision that she has and the way she can actually punish you on your gaps makes her be really strong. Anyway, it's quite hard to do it, and she has gaps as well. Okay, now that we understand how Sorc works, and I'm sorry if I was too detailed, but I really want you to understand properly, let's try now to understand how we should move and fight her. So, the first tip I can give you is never play in front of a Sorc. Why? Because she will always have vision of you, and as we saw before, she has some frontal guards that she is forced to use to actually manage her stamina. So, if you keep your movement in a circle, you will not just force her to use more stamina, but she will be afraid to actually use frontal guards, and it will be way harder to punish you on your gaps, also because she loses vision. And guys, one thing that is super important against Sorcs is lingering super armors. Don't be afraid to use it. I know sometimes it's hard to do it because they have too much damage, but usually Sorcs just deal too much damage when they use the strongest skills. And those are the skills that you actually need to iframe or use frontal guards. Okay, now let's try to understand the most important skills that we should use against Sorc. Smokescreen. This is one of our main and very best skill against Sorc. Why? Because it's super armor and it's stun, and actually pretty easy and fast to cast. Usually I use it when the Sorc is near me, and because most of the Sorcs likes to use unprotected CCs in between of the dashes, they are pretty fast, but if you time it properly, you can CC them. Block jump. Well, I think this one I don't need to explain that much. It's one of our fast and easiest engage, and the only thing that I advise you is cancelling it all the time, and sometimes you will need to wait and time it properly to actually engage on their frontal guards and not get baited on their iframe. Trying to grab a Sorc is pretty dangerous because she has iFrames and because she can punish us easy. However, there is two little gaps where you can actually grab a Sorc. It's still really dangerous and you will probably most likely fail, but it is on the beginning of the animation of Dark Limb. If you do boss slaughter grab, you have time, and on Blood Calamity, but that one I usually don't try it, just if she does like above me. Like I said before, use your alert stance movement and your concealment movement to actually punish the Sorc on their backs with shadow stomps and stuff like that. And do never forget to actually use your lingering super armors against Sorc. So I did some fights with my friend Krouzii. He is main Sorc since the beginning and he is one of our very best Sorcs in Sovereign. Usually he is one of our top fraggers, but sometimes he needs to do the dirty work, let's say, because he's on the flank team. Even though he does insane plays and he's really good in 1v1s. He said of course he prefer Awakening for 1v1s, but now I'm doing the Succession guide and he agreed to help me. So here is some fights that I did with him to explain you how I usually fight against Succession Sorc. Okay guys, so keep in mind that the matchup against Sorc will never be easy, and for me it's actually one of the most skilled matchups that we have. As you can see, on the first matchup I start really slow doing my super armors and trying to play around him. Fortunately, I didn't get CC'd at the beginning of my Crash and Slash. However, I hold the lingering super armor of my Crash and Slash to actually see his next move and if I could punish it. Knowing that he was actually dashing next to me, I knew he would try to CC me. So I time it and I instantly react with Smokescreen to punish him and finish with my combo. Okay, so like the previous match, I start with lingering super armor, but I did a small mistake. I did prime shuriken with alert stance for the block, but it could be a huge mistake if he had the 6% stun add-on. I have no idea why I tried to smokescreen there, but after that I saw that he was doing prime crow flare, and I tried to instantly punish it with shadow stomp. When I failed, I knew he was trying to punish me right after. And actually, I was protected with the SA shadow slash, but because of reflex I iframe it, and I instantly tried to punish him. I actually CC him, but I didn't realize in time, and he punished me for that. Third match, again, I start with my lingering super armor and playing around him to make him waste some stamina. When I realized that he was actually dashing next to me, I knew that he was looking for a fast CC and I tried to time it with smokescreen. However, he realized it and he instantly dashed out. I took all the damage and I was really low HP, so I was thinking to block jump. However, the next skill was Blood Calamity and I thought I'd mess up. Fortunately, he did Violation right after and I was able to punish him and finish with my combo. Guys, if you think the Sorc has too much damage for you, use the lingering super armor anyway, but try to dash out when the skill is actually on you. For example here, I could actually dodge it, but I took all the damage. When I saw that he was actually getting closer, I tried to use the smokescreen tactic again. However, he realized it and used Rushing Crow out. Here, I did a huge mistake. I saw him using Violation and instead of using Block Jump to actually punish him, I used Alert Stance. Fortunately, after that, I dodged Dream of Doom with the Block Jump and he used Prime Crow Flare after that, so I was able to punish him and finish with my combo. On this matchup, I tried to instantly punish him on his Arc Flame because he usually starts with it, but I failed. And after using Alert Stance for block, he knew that I would go for Lingering Super Armor and he has a gap, so he instantly cast Dream of Doom and he punished me on that gap. I think at this point you already understood that the Lingerings are really OP. Look, he tried to punish me again on Crash and Slash. I tried to punish him with Smokescreen, but he instantly reacted with the Sorc Rabams. After playing around him a little bit, I tried to bait him for a fast engage with Block Jump, but he knew and he got out of that situation with Rushing Crow. However, because he did Dark Flame after that, I was able to CC him on his back and I punished him for that. Okay, so here is some more fights that I did with him. I hope you guys understand my perspective in how to fight a Sorc. Mastering our class is really important, but knowing how the other classes work and being aware of their gaps, that's what will make the match interesting and easier to execute for you. Sometimes you will fail, but don't be tilted about it. A really good technique to improve is recording your matches, watch them after, and actually see where did you fail and what you need to improve. So let's finish this guide with some plays from my friend Krouzii. Thanks to the fastest Musa, Monsieur Deville, and to the darkest soul, Krouzii. I hope you guys enjoyed the guide. Please comment what you think on the comments down below. Please comment as well which class do you want to be the next, or even if you want me to finish with Awakening Sorc. I did Succession Sorc because it's the most common and it took too long because of the changes. I really want it to be perfect. Thanks for watching, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to join our cartel, and I'll see you in the next week.